Hello, everyone, and thank you for listening to the Boardman Auditorium. I am John E. Boardman, who is the host of it. I started the Boardman Auditorium in the beginning of 2013, so I can speak to the world on the subject of life. I am by far no expert of anything, but I can be a guide for it. The things I say on my show are like applications that can be downloaded into people's mind for them to use as a way of being transformed daily. So, welcome to the Boardman Auditorium. Hello, welcome to the Boardman Auditorium. I'm your host, John E. Boardman, and thank you for listening to the Boardman Auditorium on YouTube, Facebook, and other social media outlets. For today's episode, we will discuss self-defense and why it's so important. For today's episode, you can see a picture of a woman that's getting ready to be attacked by a male. And in the male's hand you see a whip. So this gives us an idea that she's about to be whipped. And no one does not want to be in her situation. But reality, physical encounter aren't always avoidable. Over here in Lynchburg, there's a Renaissance Academy of Martial Arts School, and it's coached by Jamie Ridgway. He's also the owner, and he's a great teacher and an accomplished one as well. He is the first in Central Virginia to receive a black belt in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And for people that follow martial arts or self-defense will tell that getting a black belt in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is not easy, for it takes an average of 15 years for a person to obtain a black belt. He's also a black belt in Taekwondo and Karate, and he's always grown his school's program to be realistic and self-defense oriented. Now, there are people that train at his academy for various reasons like competing, getting in shape, or building their self-esteem. But the reason why he loves to teach at Renaissance Academy of Martial Arts is that he loves to show people how to defend themselves. Well, let's say if this female was at the Renaissance Academy of Martial Arts, she definitely would not be taught to fall to the ground and have her back against the wall for a victim to easily attack her. For over at Renaissance Academy of Martial Arts, they would say, okay, you need to stand up, have your hands to get ready to defend yourself, and try to persuade your attacker and not attacking you. But if that doesn't work, then you have other options other than just panicking and also hoping that he doesn't hurt you. But that's not the world we live in today. Now we can examine the attacker and see that definitely he's gonna hit her with a whip with his right hand. And over at the Renaissance Academy of Martial Arts, they teach Kali, which is stick fighting. And in stick fighting, you learn different directions that a stick will come at you, like it'll come up, down, sideways, and diagonally. Well, pretty much the same direction that this guy will do with his belt. And so the woman standing, her back's off the wall, her hands are up, and she's ready to defend herself. Now we can see in the picture that the attacker has to move in closer. And so knowing that, the female attacker needs to consider her options. First option that a self-defense person will tell you is you have the rabbit trick, maybe, and that's the ability to run away. Well, it looks like in this picture that option is not available. So what are the other options that she may have? Well, definitely she wants to subconsciously already make the movements. And one is to close the distance. As she's closing the distance, most likely he's gonna whip her with his right hand. So basically, she would have her left arm up and it's already bent, and her elbow is pretty much, her right elbow is pointing towards her right knee, and she basically will lift her upper arm up, and her hand would be grabbing the back of her head, and her lower arm will create an angle to where you can imagine that it would be like a shield. And that's what's taught at the Renaissance Academy of Martial Arts. They teach the shield cover to defend a left or right hook. And whenever a person throws a left or right hook, most likely their inside, like their head, stomach, and chest area are already open, and that gives a person an opportunity to attack, or they can transition from covering to in a grappling position. Now, in basic Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, they teach the importance of closing the distance, and from closing the distance they will get into a T position, and that's definitely taught at the Renaissance Academy of Martial Arts. Well, to get an idea what that T position, I'm going to try to describe it with this picture. Alright, the attacker is closing the distance, and the female decides, okay, I gotta do something. And she closes the distance while he's trying to whip her with his right hand. She's covering her head with her left hand, and she's closing the distance. And she immediately takes her right hand and grabs him behind the neck, pulls it, and her left hand that was doing the blocking will immediately extend out on the outside of his right arm, and she would take her left hand and pull his elbow in, and then from that position she could transition into the T position. And the T position would have her on his left side. She would be underneath his left arm, and her right arm would be along his back and pulling on it, hooking on it, keeping it nice and tight. And she will lower her base, and she would keep her left leg right between the inside of his thighs, and her head would be tucked in towards his chest, and everything would be pretty much tight. Her right arm would be pulling tight along his elbow, and her right arm pulling tight along his back, and she'll keep her head inside his chest to keep him from hitting her or pulling distance away. And once she establishes her T position, she could look for the options of a basic hip toss or leg sweep. After she does those actions, she has the opportunity to run away or advance her position by transitioning from the T position into the mount. And the mount is one of the most dominant positions in Jiu-Jitsu or self-defense situation. And mount will basically look like a person laying on the ground, and the person's right on top their waistline. And from the mount position, the person can either punch the guy at the bottom, and the guy at the bottom would not have the option of punching because God did not create arms long enough for people to punch from the bottom when someone's mounting them. And from that position, she could look and try to control the situation, and that gives you an idea. And if I do not do a good job of describing that, I definitely encourage you to check out the Renaissance Academy of Martial Arts. You could watch the classes or participate. I know definitely that there's a free trial where you could take 1 or 3 classes to see whether or not you like it. And most times when people try it, they definitely like it. And learning self-defense is very valuable. So when you come across the situation that you see in the picture, you'll have more options than just sitting on the ground. And this is John E. Boardman. Thank you for listening to the Boardman Auditorium. And definitely check out Renaissance Academy of Martial Arts.